it's just about getting over the finish line after a start like we made.
Trying to relax ourselves, just thinking about the game.
I'd say we're a bit unnervy. We're glad to have that series out of the way. I mean, when you start a tournament like this, there's always going to be a few sort of jitters at the start. It takes a while to get going, and then we're hoping we're through to the quarters. I mean, that's all it is for us. We want to crack on and get into that knockout stage.
Yeah, to be honest, we were an outsider here. We didn't expect to win at first. Of course, we are here to win. I think we have a great shot right now. We feel confident after that. We just need to stay focused.
Oh, it'd be amazing to do that. I mean, we've not took a tournament on Halo 5 yet. We're looking to really, this is a big one, so we want to make this our first win.
Hello and welcome back. This is the last slot we're going to have for the EMEA regional qualifiers for the World Championship. And the two teams duking it out are Infused and Millenium. I'm Brycey, and bringing the action to break down this one, it's going to be Ghosty Army and Redbeard the Pirate.
That's not. You know what? I'm actually adhering to this name. Actually, I'll take it. Is it looking red?
It is. It's a mighty beard.
I'll take it. It's took me years to grow. Literally, I haven't shaved in 6 years.
You can tell. Anyway, let's kind of get into this one then. Infused, Millenium, it should be a really good game, bearing in mind that yesterday, Millenium were one of the major factors in knocking Dignitas out of this tournament, the number 2 seed. Infused with a number 3 coming in. Sims, you're very familiar with both of these squads. Start me off.
Yeah, so looking back at the EU qualifiers, we didn't have... Millennium wasn't in the best position where they were initially. You know, they got, when I say they got smashed by Fabi, they got smashed by Fab at the end of the day. And then they matched up, kept going and things like that. We got Fabi through. They went into the last European qualifier, and I was like, you know, this is European qualifier 3. It's not a team, and this is no disrespect to any of the guys, it's not a team that I expected here today. There was plenty of decent teams in there, and I expected things like, we had Orbit, we had Menace, we had a couple of other teams in there that I expected to kind of progress on longer than what they were. But you know what? They made it out. They not only came in, they won the event. They got themselves $1,000, they got them a trip here. They then move in yesterday, and I'm casting. I get off the caster desk, and I heard they've just 2-0'd Dig. Now, I'm sorry, and I spoke to Zankyo, and he was like, I have no idea what happened. And I didn't see it, so I don't really want to contemplate whether it was just Dig had the worst game of their entire life, or whether Millenium had the game of their life.
I'll be honest with you now, it probably seems like Dig's worst game of their entire life. They're probably thinking about it like that, whether or not they actually played the worst of life, or whether or not Millenium stood up. I said it's a benchmark. You've got to be thinking, are Millenium now a brilliant team? Are they good enough to take down Dig consistently, or was this a one-off and Infused will have the advantage here? And I think that's the real question coming into this game is, was it a fluke for Millenium? Well, and that's a valid question.
I think that the big deal here, though, is that we saw Team Infused yesterday play Vitality. And Vitality actually took a game off them, right? Coliseum Slayer. So, and even in game 3, it was close. And I feel like Infused, they haven't shown their dominance yet. They haven't asserted it yet. That we're used to seeing, at least, so when it comes to this matchup, I have to say that this is the one I've been looking out for today. Millenium absolutely proved so many people wrong yesterday. They impressed everyone, destroying Dig and so on and so forth. So I have to think that, I mean, this is another French team going up against Team Infused. Maybe this is the one that will take it.
I've got to say, I mean, if we're being like this and we're doing the way-ups and things like that, for me, Dig were better than, coming into this, Dig were better than Infused by quite a long shot.
For sure.
If Millenium can 2-0 Dig, in theory...
Yeah, the logic puzzle, right?
Yeah,
if you can beat them and they can beat them, then surely you should be able to beat them, right? That's the way
Hopefully
it usually
matches
goes.
up that way.
But we'll find out. But first, before we kind of get into the strengths and weaknesses of these two teams, we're going to hand it over to Mitch, who's with the players.
Thank you, boys. Yes, I'm here with Xavier and Talik, of course, from Millenium. Big match to come up here, guys. So start with yourself, Xavier. I mean, there was quite a good chance, actually, the way the groups were predicted to go. And just like the analysis said now, your opponent might well have been Dignitas in this match. I mean, what's the feeling amongst you guys actually not going up against Dignitas, but instead Millenium?
Well, there's taking nothing away from Millenium. they beat Dig on the day, and they were by far the better team. It was a great series to watch. So you've got to show as much respect for them as we would for Dig. Don't overlook any games. Obviously, on paper, we'd think before we'd prefer Millenium, but how Millenium played yesterday.
Who knows now?
Yep, it's an open event. Upsets can happen in this game, and people that play it and grind it, and they show what they can do on the day and knock off the top people.
Talik, we only got to see one of your games yesterday. We saw the game against Fabi on the stage, and then you played obviously off stage against Dignitas, and you beat them. And they said actually on the analysis desk that after you had played against Dignitas and beat them, Fabi played Dignitas and they were broken. They were not feeling as good as maybe they were before. Tell me, your victory over Dignitas, do you think it was a big improvement for you guys compared to your game against Fab-E? Or do you think that Dignitas were just not as strong as you expected?
I think that against Dignitas, we played like we have nothing to lose. So we played our games like without stress, and we played well. And Dignitas were a bit, I don't know what they did. Like they were like very different from what we saw on Xbox Live playing them. They were so good. And I don't know what happened. Like we played so good, everything was perfect for us, everything was good, so it was okay. And I think it's make them doubt a bit, and that what 5B, they win because of that, I think.
Maybe they had lost their confidence a little bit after having played against you guys. Xavier, I mean, you guys obviously are considered a top team in the UK, but are yet to get that event win. Now, there's obviously, as I spoke to members of Epsilon earlier, there's a lot of respect towards you guys. They regard you guys as probably their biggest competition here. From all the times you played them before in the past, do you think anything's different today? Do you think that this time around that the edge is there for you?
Something always needs to give them a kick and a push, and they don't like losing like anyone, and they've won a lot. They won almost everything in H2A. Yep. They won everything on Halo 4, and they don't want to keep losing these big events, and they want to show Epsilon that they're better and win the one that matters to them.
Do you think you're hungrier than Epsilon?
I'd say they are. They're a lot hungrier than I've seen them in a long time in this game. They've spent a lot more time. They've been working on things, going over things, a lot more, seeing what went wrong, and with the pickup of Beach, they just seem to mesh together a lot better than they were before with Riots.
Talik, you guys are the last French team remaining now, of course, in this tournament. Does knowing that add pressure to you guys as, the entirety of France is looking to you to carry their hopes on your backs?
No, I think there is no pressure because I feel like all the French teams did what they can and they did well. I feel like they did well, so if we make it, I think France will be proud and will be cheering for us. And obviously, I'm sad for my French players who don't go to US, but it's a game.
Absolutely. Well, of course, you guys definitely have your fans in your respective homelands following you, and you've definitely got yourselves a few fans in here, so thank you for joining us. Feel free to shake hands, gentlemen, before you head up onto the stage. Guys, it's been great to have you here. Let's chuck back to the analyst desk, and we can look right into this one. It's our last quarterfinal, the last golden ticket for World Championship qualification. This one's going to be spicy.
Thank you very much for that. Spicy, he says. What do you guys think?
Well, I think it's spicy. I don't know what's more sexy, really. Talik as a player or that hoodie. How
I'm going to be honest. The whole time up here, I just kept saying I need one of those hoodies. So any of you Millennium guys out there, I'll be cheering for you extra hard if I get one of those.
Scumbag. All right. Let's kind of jump into this one then. And speaking of Millennium, let's kind of break down the Millennium team. Let's go all the way through it. Sims, I'm going to let you do this one since you kind of have cast over these guys quite a few times recently.
Yeah, we'll leave this on for a while then. So ignore the ones at the top for the moment. We'll just run through how we've been playing here at this weekend. Solar, so far, he has been on fire.
Yeah,
please mind the pun, but so far, he's just been a dominant force on this Millennium roster. I think he had one bad game, and the one bad game that he had, they lost, but he's an absolute tank. Moving on to Talik, possibly the best European sniper throughout H2A. He did not miss a single shot whenever he picked up that sniper every single time. Zankyo now has become that magnificent demon. He literally just fires bullets and they always seem to find someone's face. And then Cypher, Boris is kind of this guy that I see doing the dirty work. You'll see him getting stuck into the
Gets
objectives.
the job done.
And any of the weapon, it's like, oh crap, there's a weapon up. I'll just go grab it. But then he'll swap it out for somebody who he knows, like for sniper rifle, he'll probably chuck it to Zankyo. But he's like the player that is the glue between this foundation.
For sure. And I think the other big point is I myself have seen these guys in Halo 5 matchmaking constantly. They're always on the grind. They're always playing, not just against them, against other teams and practicing at events, but also online, playing against us and tons of other Americans and trying to get better. So I got to give them props for that.
I still think the weakest and definitely the pivotal, whether they're going to win this or not, is the FFA play style. They all like FFA, and they're all individually beasts. They can, if someone's going to challenge them, they go one-on-one, they'll take a run for the money at the end of the day.
Yep.
They really need to knuckle down teamwork. The coach, the fifth player, should be in the back telling them what to do, how to do it, stick together. And yesterday, when we saw Infused lose a game to Vitality, it was on Coliseum Slayer, and Vitality set up at Sniper. They didn't move from Sniper. There were 4 people, and they just fed.
Hey, Sims, guess what game 2 is?
Well, there you go, and that's kind of why I brought it up.
Do you think so? So you're kind of circling the keys to victory. So let's get straight into it. You're saying that obviously you're saying the coach is a factor in this one.
Without question, I think I've always said this. I'm a big lover of coaches, and the coach is the 5th man at the end of the day. And I still say part of when you look at EG back in the States, Taue is an absolute beast when it comes to his part of their success.
Especially when you talk about in Halo, there have been some times where power weapons and power ups weren't that crucial, but when it came down to it, right? Halo 1, Halo 5 even, it's just you need to set up, you need to go that extra mile.
Let's have a look at the keys to victory for this game. Oh, just missed them. I knew one of them was said at tournament, Talik. I've not necessarily seen the most of him. What I know Talik can do and what I've seen Talik do back at some of the European events. This guy has a tendency just to go off. I've not seen that yet, and this is the time. If he doesn't go off,
they need it now, right?
I mean,
they're going home if he doesn't.
And you heard him. He said, it's kind of unfortunate that some of his French brethren aren't still here to play and compete. So this is really the last stand, if you will, for the French community to prove their worth and to get sent over to the U.S. So I think it's a very big deal that not only are they here to play to win, but they're representing their country. The whole country is probably behind him right now. So I'm excited to see it.
All right. Well, let's kind of jump over to the other side then and talk about Infused. And one of the things we've got to kind of bring up today is, for one, what I understand is Foxy is feeling a little bit better.
Yes, and again, you saw in the
because this is how bad he was feeling.
Yeah.
He's not actually in the team photo because he's been so ill the last few days. From what I understand, he's feeling considerably better this morning.
Yeah, I just looked at him and says, "How you feeling?" And he just went, "Yeah, we're back, man. We're back. We're sorry." But he wasn't here for the photos. Ramirez, just really quickly run through the players, possibly one of the greatest captains I've ever seen. He's loud, he's proud, he'll get the boys hyped. He doesn't mind going negative in any single game, so long as he gets the win.
Gets the job done.
And that's what it's all about. 2 Foxy, one of the keys to victories for Millennium. Cut this guy off. You need to chop his head off and not keep him in the respawn. If you want to win these games, do not let him get any advantage of it. He'll be in your base.
Very squirrely guy.
I mean, he's going to cause all sorts of problems, and you need to shut him down.
It's crazy. It's
Chalky is, we've seen for the last 2 days going big positives.
New age Chalky.
This is what we need. Tournament Chalky. He's starting to come alive. He's starting to adapt to Halo 5, using the abilities, using the weapons, getting used to the map areas, and he's starting to become the beast that we know is. And of course, at the end, Blackjack, kind of after dropping Riots and bringing Blackjack in, this team has just gone from strength to strength to strength, from being good to possibly now being great. And definitely, they've not got the event win yet in Halo 5. I think this could be it.
Yeah, he does a great job at complimenting Ramirez, right? I mean, bringing in that new player, that fresh set of eyes, who's just eager to learn, eager to support everyone. I think that was a great pickup with Blackjack.
All right, well, let's move into the keys to victory then. How do Infused secure their spot in the World Championship? How do they put Millennium down?
I mean, when it comes, obviously, these keys to victory, you do not want to underestimate Millennium in any way, right? Yesterday, we saw them take down Dig in a 2-0 fashion, and we were in this room when it happened, and they are very loud. I mean, when they won the first game, it erupted in here, and it wasn't because of a crowd behind them. It was because of all 4 of them and the coach joining in. It was absolutely insane. So when it comes down to that, you cannot underestimate them, and we saw what happened yesterday with Infused versus Vitality, so I think that's a very big point here.
Beware of sort of like heating up. Kind of touched on that one of how I've never seen him play at a LAN event yet, and so far he's just going absolutely nuts. And again, if he does that to these guys, they're in trouble. He's kind of the equivalent of 2 Foxy at the moment.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Literally just the equivalent. And
finally, they're going to cancel each other out, maybe.
Do you think the Infused player dancing at the end is a bit of a key to victory there?
I think Blackjack's just hyped. He knows that he's literally probably 3 games away from going to America. These guys, let me just remember the roster, several of them went to, apart from Perry, was on TCM at the time, several of them came off of the win from the Battle of Europe and went towards Season 1 finals. Blackjack at the end's dancing, we saw him on. Do you remember that Warlock bomb game?
Oh, yeah.
20-second arm off the spawn, grabbed it, bang, in your face.
That was crazy.
That was meant, I've never seen anything like that. But the final key to victory, this guy on screen now, he, for me, Chalky has been hit and miss throughout Halo 5.
Yep.
Finally now, he's got Beach next to him. He's adapted. He's let everything go.
He's grabbing rockets, for Christ's sake. I mean, you never really see that out of the guy. He's always been, the sniper slayer, and for him to start controlling power weapons, very unorthodox, I guess, out of his playstyle from H2A. But then you transferred into H5, and really, like you said, this team is slowly learning how to get adapted to the entire game.
Awesome. Well, I think this one is fairly hard to predict.
Yeah.
So, guys, I'm going to ask for the scoreline prediction. Sims, you seem to be contemplating deep in thought there.
I'll strut the beard and see what we get.
I'm going to go with a 3-2 for Millenium. I mean, I think that Infused, right? Yesterday we saw them beat Vitality 2-1 in a 2-1 fashion. I have to say that Millenium is the stronger team out of those 2 French teams. So I have to think that they would get the better end of that, right? And maybe Infused wasn't really playing well yesterday, so I might be wrong here. But if Millenium brings the heat that they did yesterday, not just in-game but also out-of-game, I think it's going to be very startling for Infused.
Okay.
So let's say Infused win this. They're going to be playing Epsilon. Epsilon are the #1 kind of who they want to be beating moving forward. They cannot, if they want to win this event, they've got to 3-0 this team. So I think
that's a good point.
Simple as that. They have to 3-0 this team. They can't give Epsilon any chance whatsoever. So I'm going to say 3-0 Infused, just because I can. They want to do it more. Completely more than Millenium.
Just before we quickly move on, do you think that Infused might be looking past this game?
Of course. The thing with Ramirez, he's never about this. He's about what's going on next.
He is.
This is the whole thing about Rami is like, you know what, mate, get this out of the way, and we're moving on to America. Andy looks beyond game 1. Andy he's a very statistician. You'll always see him looking at brackets. Yesterday I was looking, it was looking through, I could see him watching the thing, he's going up all the different teams and kind of queuing everything in his mind. And then when Dignitas lost, he was like, okay, so we've got this scenario, blah, 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 blah. And he was just planning every scenario out. And that's kind of the player that he is and why he's an amazing team leader.
Yep.
Awesome, guys. Well, thank you so much. It's time to get this game underway. Remember, if you're at home, are you going to agree with our analyst? If you're Infused or Millenium, they disagree. Do you? Hashtag HaloWC. Please let us know what you think. But it is time to get this game underway. So I'm going to hand it over to our casters.
Welcome, everyone, to the last quarterfinal of the day. We are going to send one more team to Worlds. My name's Gaskin. I'm joined by, of course, Bravo himself. What are your thoughts on this next game? Who do you think is going to take this one?
After hearing predictions from the other desk, I have to say I'm leaning towards Infused as well, but I do think that Millenium could put up a pretty good fight. I was talking to you earlier. You don't think we can go to 5 games here, though?
Infused are very confident going into this game. They said they feel a bit upset. They were kind of the 3rd-ranked team. They've beaten Dignitas online, and obviously the last UK tournament, they came up against Epsilon in the semi-finals. They didn't get the chance to play Dig.
Sure.
So they want to prove a point here. They want to get to these semi-finals and play Epsilon again. I just don't think Millenium have got what it takes against these guys.
Right, I think, it's going to be a fantastic series. Looking at the group play that we saw from Millenium, they, of course, beat Dignitas 2-0, which was the big upset. They lost to Fabi 0-2, and then Fabi would go to beat that first game off of Dignitas, eliminating them from the group. Of course, they didn't finish that series. So Millenium's only played 4 games, right, coming in to this quarter-final match here. So I'll have to see what they can do. We got to see a little bit of what the French can do in the Supremacy match. I have to say, Strongside said it on the desk, I don't think the scoreline really told the story. I thought Supremacy put up a pretty darn good fight, made the French fans proud, but of course Millenium wants to do even more here, and obviously not only take games off of Infused, but maybe even have their eyes set on taking the series.
Well, speaking of games, let's have a look at the series layout. Let's see what maps these guys are going to be playing today. So game 1, we've got Fathom CTF, Coliseum Team Slayer game 2, which is obviously a favourite of the Millenium boys.
Yep.
Eden Strongholds game 3, Truth CTF game 4, and if we need it, Regret Team Slayer game Game 5. What's your favorite game type out of these 5?
Yeah, out of this, I got to go Truth TTF. I mean, I'm a classic map, classic Halo fan. So that linear, nonstop, 2-base, 2-flagged style is really a favorite of mine. But if I had to look at, another favorite, Coliseum TS is pretty sweet. I love how open it can be or how closed it can be. There's a lot of maps that have played that way. For me, Coliseum lies somewhere in between my love of maps like Lockout, my love of maps like the Pit, Narrows, right? Like, I think it has these really nooks and crannies, which is kind of what I pull from Lockout. But Narrows and Pit can play very wide open, or they can play very small. You have these battles on the cannon landings, the backstage. You have battles in Shotgun, in Flag, on Pit. And then in both of the maps, you can have these top-mid battles, these cannon battles. On the Pit, you can have Green, Hall, Training, Pit. Like, there's these nice mix of tight and open areas, which is, I think, what Coliseum has. So I personally love playing the map. I love seeing it. But game number 1 is going to be Fathom CTF. We're going to kick things off here with the captain of Infused. That's going to be Ramirez.
We saw him kind of biting his nails pre-game there, and there is a little problem here, so we'll probably see what happens
looks like,
there.
Could be a controller issue, so we'll see. It looks like the player immediately notifying the station referee that something might be up, potentially a control issue or something. It looks like all players are still in game, so we'll have to find out exactly what happened. Ramirez letting the station referee you see on your screen know that something might have been up. So looks like he's going to keep his hand in the air to make sure.
At least it happened early on, right? It didn't happen mid-series.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So we'll have to see exactly what it was. We'll wait on word from our station referee as well as production on what might exactly happen. If we actually take a look just off screen, looking at Ramirez's POV, I think he spawned Silo, and it looks like he hadn't moved yet. I'm not sure if he had died once being AFK, but I think it also might be I think some type of issue at the start. So we'll go ahead and restart Fathom CTF in just a minute, but we haven't had a chance to talk about this match too much just yet, this specific game type. Talked about it during the first series, though. It's one of those game types where if you're not ready to sprint and get to the enemy base, right? Like, I mean, if you're not mentally prepared to play a game type like Fathom CTF, then you're in trouble, right? You need to be on your horse and ready to go. I mean, if I had to compare, it's almost like an onslaught in Halo 3. Like, you better be ready to hold forward, get to the enemy base, run the flag, throw perfectly timed grenades when they're running the flag. It's not a game type like Coliseum TS where you can play a little bit more passive, respect the 50-yard line. No. Fathom is a fast-paced game.
What I've seen about Fathom is you kind of divide the team into twos. You get 2 guys who are going to control top mid, and the other 2, they want to push around, they want to get in the base and start pulling that flag. And these Infused boys, they're very confident. They feel practiced. They said after UK finals, they feel they practiced the most. Even though Epsilon did go over to X Games, they said, well, it was just a LAN. They got 3 games, 2 games. They've been practicing all week. These guys are feeling confident. They think they can win the whole event.
I think I can't wait to potentially see what might happen after this series. But of course, they've got to focus on this one, the series ahead. It's interesting to see a team captain like Ramirez always looking ahead. I think that's a great skill, but you have to make sure as a team that you're not overlooking each game, right? Each series. You need to make sure you come into this strong. I don't think that's the case. I think Ramirez has his head in the right place and that they'll be able to close this one out. But just looking at the board, I mean, Fathom CTF is such a fast-paced battle that for me, that's going to go to Infused. I think, like you said, Coliseum could go either way in the last series. If there was one game that Supremacy could have taken, it was obviously Coliseum TS. They were even really close with their late total control in Eden Strongholds. So you have to wonder, can this French squad also put up a similar fight here as these players are now getting ready once again to hop into game number 1? Foxy gives the thumbs up there to the referee. I think if I'm Millenium, I want to do everything I can to apply a lot of pressure, though, in CTF Fathom. You don't want to give up easy game number 1 and give a lot of confidence to players like Chalky, right? When Chalky's going to grab the snipe, you don't want to have them kind of running around Coliseum CTF knowing that they just 3-0'd you really fast.
I think what we've seen from a lot of these French squads, they have a little bit of a different play style on most maps, especially Coliseum. And these UK teams, they aren't really ready for that. The UK teams have kind of been playing the UK teams. The French teams have been scrimming the French teams, the Germans, and they've kind of kept separate so they don't give away those strategies. I mean, do you think that's the same with the NA teams as well? Because they don't scrim these UK teams, UK teams aren't used to the play style.
Yeah, it definitely could be as we take a look at our 8 players here on screen. But I tell you what, I mean, we saw Epsilon do some damage against Renegades, right? And you have to wonder what exactly caused that. And as we see more international teams come to North America, I am personally looking forward to seeing how the strategies unfold against top teams. It's going to be pretty exciting to see exactly what different types of strategies and meta changes as we look from region to region, right? Flag run routes and tactics and stuff, in the same way that your professional sports have different strategies when it comes to regions, right? Soccer, football, as well as something like hockey. European hockey is a very, very different style than North American hockey, so we'll have to see how that plays out. And of course, that's one of the luxuries of the Halo World Championship, is that we get to see how all these players play against each other.
And we're going to jump on board with Ramirez first. As we spoke about, he's one of those players that will run in. He doesn't mind just running in. What?
You got to talk about Solar does the sliding melee underneath Ramirez's melee, so it wasn't even a traded melee. That lets Solar get across the map. Take a look at these. He's already back at his silo, but he's going to meet some resistance here as he tries to bring this in.
A lot of these French players do slide. You don't see it from the UK players as much, but these French and German players, they love the thrust, they love the slide. But the UK players have said, well, in a BR battle, they know they're going to thrust, so they think it's too easy to predict now.
Oh yeah, I mean, what we're seeing now in the North American side too is 2Foxy will fall, but Chalky has camo, so we got to keep an eye on that. What we're seeing on the North American side is players who can really execute the perfectly timed thrust are going to be the difference makers. Looks like that flag is away. It looks like I think we're going to actually see a return for the other side. So Chalky is going to try to get his own flag back as his flag is away. But excuse me, I spoke a little bit too soon. Blackjack also has grabbed the other flag already, so both flags are still out. But we'll stay on board with Chalky. Blackjack has died, so we got to make sure that Epsilon can keep, Infused can keep an eye on that flag return as well. Looks like both flags still out, but Zenkyo actually is now in a position to possibly run this in. Going to go over to him really quick. He's going to be able to bring this in, yes! And Millenium is actually the first team to put a point on the board here. The French coming out with a very different opening in series number 2 of the day.
I think they just got an Infused faces there. They got aggressive, like you said, they needed to. Infused weren't really set up yet. Now we see Ramirez top mid. I think we've got some stats for Ramirez in the current tournament that we can probably put on screen and show you guys. But he's been playing really well this tournament. I mean, Ramirez, we know for being negative Ramirez, but he's going 1.51 in his KDA.
That's plenty
he's playing
positive.
really well.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. He has a bad rap here, of course, for apparently going negative is what I've been told. But he's doing pretty well so far. Total damage so far. Keep in mind, they haven't played too many games. Total damage is 75, 14, 51% accuracy there. So we could just say he's laying down some really good cover fire.
Yeah, I mean, he's just putting shots on everything. I mean, 50% accuracy, that's
Look at this.
not too bad.
And that is going to be a second Millennium cap, I believe. It looks like only one flag is away.
The flag's been pulled.
As we take a look, so I'm going to see if that flag is actually out and anywhere. 2Foxy is actually grabbing the camo there, so it will not be a cap for Millennium. Looks like they might have been able to get that, but I think both flags are now back at the base. It looked like for a second they were going to be able to do it, but we do have a little bit of a flag trade scenario. 2Foxy trying to make something happen here with bottom middle. Gets stuck in a little bit of the crossfire and be wise to just stay alive here, but plenty of help coming from Blackjack. So perfectly nails that top mid jump and going to try to make a play here. So Infused, of course, they know they're playing to 3 caps. They can slow this game down quite a bit. He's in a little bit of a pickle here, though. Going to try desperately to stay alive. If he's able to come out, this is incredible help coming from Blackjack to keep 2Foxy alive with the camo, and he's going to be able to put down some nice shots as Blackjack goes for the treehouse run. We'll stay with 2Foxy here.
A really important play from staying alive, keeping that camo. We know how important the camo can be, how much of an advantage you can get on your opponent. If you can get the jump, he puts the headshot in.
Oh, but I got to
he's
note.
just kind of sitting in his base and he's waiting for that flag.
Blackjack and Chalky have died, so 2Foxy is the only player alive for his squad. He needs to try to get a touch here, but you can bet they're going to push him. They trade. Now Blackjack and Chalky desperately trying to get a touch, but I don't know if they're going to be able to do it. Now the flag is returned, so that's a very clutch Millennium return. Even though 2Foxy had that bottom middle escort, I tell you what, that treehouse run bit them in the butt. Blackjack tried to come around treehouse and go silo, but once again, if you don't have an escort coming that way, it's very difficult to bring the flag that side, and eventually it did not lead to an Infused cap. Millennium will stay in the lead.
And we did say yesterday a lot of the EU teams like to run this flag through pit. You said, well, you don't see that very often in the NA. Obviously Infused going for your favorite route, but it just wasn't working for them there. They need to kind of rethink their strategy here, because at the moment Millennium are getting in their face and they don't really know how to answer that.
That's right, yeah. As they came around Trieste, I mean, even the silo run is something we see a lot more commonly in North America. But Ramirez is running this flag while Blackjack is doing some work here. Ramirez is actually going front base. You see it on your your screen. He's going to be bringing this flag, and he dies, though, so we'll see if there's anyone in position. It's going to be Chalky who goes for the grab. Let's see if he can do it. Looks like he's going to get that flag capture. Yes, indeed, 1-1. Infused ties up the match, and this could be a major turning point, Gaskin, right? Infused is finally on the board. It took them almost 5 minutes to do so, but they might be able to grab control here. What Millenium needs to do is keep this pressure up. Now over to Cypher. He dies immediately, so we'll go back to Solar on Millenium, who helped a lot on that first cap, but 2Foxy is actually in the enemy base. He just pulled with camo and railgun, and he's going for the pit run. We'll have to see if this works out for him, and so far Solar putting down some damage, but there is a 2Foxy lurking with the camo and the rail once again. He has such an a great strategy here to just drop the flag, bait it, and he can easily railgun someone. Looks like he's going to get top mid, maybe go for the ground pound run here, but instead he finds an opponent. He's going to have to drop down and try to toss that front. So a lot of opponents on his radar. He's going to slow it down just a bit, but keep in mind, no arrow in that bottom left. Finally, he's on showing up again as his camo is expiring. Going to try to make this run, see if he can get it in, but both flags are out, and it looks like on the other side, it's Zenkyo with the infused flag.
And we saw how the railgun played a massive part in that pull. We saw it a lot yesterday in the games. There was 3 caps I saw that all involved the railgun kill in one particular game.
And Blackjack was going for the return, but I believe his own splinter grenade came back in his face, so he will not get that return. He was up against 2 returns. I have to say, I like 2Foxy's ledge right now because it's actually quite hard for him to be lit up and spotted, and he can kind of go right, just like this. He can go top mid. That's a really great spot, and I can't say I've seen this strategy used a whole ton as a place to hold the flag because he can have some really nice angles and get a really good cover. It's almost like an oddball spot.
And Foxy is on a killing frenzy right now. Obviously, using that railgun, he needs to replace it with something else because it's run out of ammo. But when you've got this kind of standoff situation, you really need that flag guy to be the 4th weapon.
And he goes up for the rail, actually. So we just saw Ramirez take the flag in the back, and it's going to be 2Foxy who grabs the rail up top. He's, of course, going to go for this return. Both flags are still out. Just to give you a really quick peek at the other flag, we have Cypher here right in the blue door, waiting patiently to try to see if he can land any shots. But now back over to 2Foxy at top mid.
Yeah, he's going to just try and make something work with the railgun here. He knows camo's coming up soon.
The timing.
Perfect timing there for 2Foxy. He's got the coach's Abby in his ear, and he is going off with the railgun right now.
That's perfect. He picks up those 2. He should be in a really good position to push in and try to get this. Look at that. Another kill from him. Is anyone in position to get the return? Blackjack is going to be there. He is able to get the pull still, so they do get a touch. But I'm trying to see if anyone can get that return just yet. Looks like no one's in position, but looks like, I love this. 2Foxy says, I will be the one to do the job, and he gets the return right there. And I do believe, yes, indeed, Infused will go up 2-1. You have to wonder if Cypher thought he had the extra time, right?
Nice play.
He checked the base, but he didn't have the time because 2Foxy with camo was right there on the return.
Yeah, perfect play. He was kind of sat top mid. He was thinking, should I drop down? Should I stay up here? I don't want to waste the camo. But he just said, I'm going to be a sneaky beaver. Drop down. Goes for the ground pound. And he does take down 2Foxy.
Gosh, that was Solar with a bold play from top middle. That might have been his own grenade that took him out there, but gets the ground pound and then cleanup kill. Zenkyo desperately trying to get the touch, gets it eventually, swaps it out. Might be going for the run here, but of course his flag is away as well. Blackjack is already back at his base, so keep in mind, Infused actually here with the game-winning cap in their base. Millenium cannot afford to lose this exchange here.
I love what Infused are doing. Every time they lose a flag, one of their players sprints round it immediately and pulls that flag out of the base.
That's a big play there. It looks like Talik is right away, ready to clean up that kill. He's juking this player, though. They might be able to take out Chalky, and it's well done. Good teamwork there in the back of the base with Cypher, who was able to clean up that kill. We also have Solar, top middle, going for the railgun. So Millenium can try to answer back here. Less than 4 minutes left, though.
I think the difference with these flag guys is Millenium are very wary with their flag. You can see him kind of sitting very
he
close
doesn't
to
want
his
to leave
base.
the window.
Definitely. But we saw Infused. They were more adventurous with their spots, and that's what's going to make a difference in a game like this.
That's exactly it. Now, time is ticking down. Talik and Millenium know they have everything to lose here in this match. They cannot afford to lose a cap. I was going to go to Solar, but he just lost the railgun in the enemy base. So we'll go to Zenkyo, who's trying desperately to get a return and might get it here if he's able to take down Chalky. No! Chalky is able to come up with a big AR play, and it looks like teammate Ramirez will keep the flag in their base as well. So scanning across, it's going to be 2Foxy with camo. He's our player to watch right now, going in for the return. He wants to be sneaky. He also, teammate Blackjack has the railgun, so Infused is looking good for the return here. Now take a look, of course, Cypher will not see him on the radar as you do not appear. He's going to make a play for the flag. He pushes him out front. That should allow his teammates to push in, and they're probably going to pick up this kill easy. Go for the return as well. Can Zenkyo save the day for a moment? He does. Does not get a touch, though. Who's there for the return? Looks like it's going to be... No. I don't think so. Solar actually pulls back, so we will stay in stalemate mode. I will say Zenkyo getting that trade was a very big kill because Solar and crew were able to swoop in and get that kill. Keep in mind, Camo has run out. I believe Railgun has run out, so we will remain in this situation here.
Millennium were very much on the defense there. You saw the whole team just swarm in. Solar finally gets the back smack to make sure that he keeps the flag. Obviously a very important play so they don't go 3-1 down and lose this game.
Yeah, we see Ramirez actually poking outside of the base, trying to pick up some kills here in just a second. Might be able to get this kill on Talik as well. Yes, let's go ahead in the last 2 minutes to an Infused. Listen and see how they can close out this game.
Second railgun.
I'll get it.
They're low flag. One guy, the flag guy.
I am blocking low spawns.
Throw the flag, throw the flag.
On Camo's spawn.
Throw their flag low, so watch
Shoot their flag, one in bottom mid.
Get the rail, then we go, get the rail.
Shoot that low.
Camo's spawn really weak.
I'm stuck here.
Top me. Nice.
On me, they're pushing me.
Yeah, they're all gone that low. I'm on their high.
Flag's in engine.
There's two push me low, two push me on three.
Come on, Jake, let me know when.
Their side, and our side. Nothing.
Where's our side?
Still nothing. You're good. He went to pillar, he must have went to pillar, Perry.
I'm checking in.
Yeah, that's the guy. I'm nading him, he's left side.
Watching courtyard.
Nice.
Two dead.
Flag was in.
Camo and 10.
I'm coming through low door, I'm coming through low.
Watching their
I'm gonna go forward for it.
We need to get that camera.
Yeah, I'm gonna go forward and help it. Get ready to get this.
Just waiting for you, Jake.
Yeah,
Two come for you, Jake.
Yeah, they are.
Help me, Jake.
There's 2 weak, one shot.
Free there, go! Go quickly, someone go with Perry, go! You've got to get in there, you've got rail on everything, you can do this.
Chill, man, chill.
There's one loader. Swan loader, slay again. Don't push it. Nice one, good shit.
Shit, I had perfect angle.
Yeah, no, just chill a little bit.
Maybe actually the shit,
So there you see Chalky, Ramirez, 2 Foxy, and Blackjack able to close out game number 1 with a score of 3-1. I have to say the listening really told the story there. 2 Foxy up top with the railgun. Doesn't even call out, finishes the kill. You hear the 3 dead call. 2 Foxy makes a play, but it's eventually, I believe, Chalky with Camo who sneaks in for that return. So really nice job by that crew to close out the game. Looking at the kills, it's 2 Foxy who stands out at 32 and 12. And also, I mean, look at the assists. Just look at the top versus the bottom. Chalky, 23 assists. Ramirez, 19 assists. And only 1 player, Cypher, on the other side to hit double-digit assists. So big stuff from them. I mean, but 32 and 12.
I mean, he had the railgun for half the game. He was getting every single camo. This man knows how to control these power-ups and these power weapons. Fantastic display of teamwork from these guys to get that amount of assists as well, especially from Chalky, I want to say. He's probably one of the biggest slayers on the team. If he can put up 23 assists, that really shows more. He's got a dynamic game and he can do a bit more than just slaying.
Certainly see Talik there with us, I believe, on his screen, speaking with the teammate and his coach to try to see exactly what they could have done better in that match. But have to give credit to Millenium because they held off a lot of the pushes that Infused threw towards them, even with the railgun and the camo. I mean, felt like Infused had both of those throughout the entire match. They were able to get a flag on the board. It was the opening flag, which was a big deal. So not a total blowout like we saw in the first series of the day. They have to take what they were able to do and really take those learnings, move into game number 2, Coliseum Coliseum TS, to really change it up. But on the other side, you're taking a look at Infused. They've got to be feeling good after that match. They had pretty good control. So game number 1 will go to Infused 3-1.
So going into game number 2, Coliseum Team Slayer now, what can Infused take from that game 1? They obviously really did outslay the other side there, but we know that Millenium and in general every French squad have been strong on this map. Do you think Infused have been watching Millenium and they've been watching these French teams and how they approach this map, and they might kind of change things up at their starting strategies?
Yeah, I'd love to see. I mean, what we've seen so far is that the French teams have a pretty good, not only Coliseum opening strat, but long game too. You have to wonder if Infused is thinking about changing something up. I mean, and the simplest of changes that you want to make on a tournament day, having coached a few teams, are really small tweaks to your opening strategy. Things like, let's send 2 players up Cat instead of 2 players up Snipe. You don't want to look at this overhauling your strategy because you've practiced your openings. Maybe you have 1 or 2 openings that you use at a tournament. You've practiced those day in and day out for the past few weeks. So to try to make drastic changes on game day and versus specific teams is often really difficult. You have to be careful with that, but I could see them potentially maybe they send a player low instead of sending a player, sending another player towards grass, or maybe their Rocket Street player is a little more aggressive. You can make these little tweaks in your openings that might see a better strategy, but we'll have to see. I mean, Infused are probably feeling pretty confident, and I wouldn't be surprised if they just use their basic opening.
Well, the French approach is kind of similar. We saw it in H2A as well. They grab the sniper and they just fall back and they retreat. Any moment they feel threatened, they run. They don't want to give that sniper to the opposition. If Infused can get the sniper and keep it, I think Millenium will struggle here.
Yep.
But if we can give it to someone like Zankyo, possibly one of the best French snipers, maybe Talik, they could do some real damage to this Infused squad. And I mean, it's what I want to see. I'd love to see it go to a 1-1. I'd love to see what a shaky Infused would look like.
Yeah, me too. I was going to say the same thing. I'd love to see signs of life here from the French squad. I'd love to see them put up a fight, of course, representing their country and the entire French Halo community. Got to give a shout out to Halo France and everyone on that site and community, as they're, I'm sure, supporting their last squad here, their last chance to get into the Halo World Championship. On your screen, you see the boys of Infused. Take a look at that. Pounds, high fives, and handshakes getting ready to go in this match. And on the other side, they look, and the Millenium squad, they don't look too hyped up. We'll have to see if that's going to change throughout this match, but we've got to start this game here with Chalky. We'll go ahead and get ready to jump into Coliseum Team Slayer, our game number 2.
Yeah, Chalky's kind of not really performed on Halo 5 yet. He's been playing all right this tournament, but he's not the player that we saw in H2A. He was an amazing sniper, so I really want to see him get control of this sniper in this game. I believe we've got some stats for Chalky currently in this tournament. I'm in 2.56 KDA. He is performing really well currently.
Look at that Hail Mary as well. Gets the first strike. That's going to be the first kill of the game. He's going to, clearing that player off a rocket tree is going to be really good. But just as you predicted, Gaskin, the sniper pullback strategy is in full effect, almost as far back as you can bring the sniper into Blue Cave right now. They're down by a few, but Millenium has pulled back entirely, and they're going to try to bait players out. I believe they're taking a look at a rocket player. Yes, that's Ramirez, who's actually trying to make something happen over at green. It looks like his teammate is actually going to be challenging him, which is a little bit of a brave move, but so far they're in a little bit of trouble because it's 1-4, and he's just sitting in here as Ramirez is getting ready. It looks like to push. He's going to desperately try to stay alive, but you can bet a rocket is about to come in from Ramirez, and that could spell disaster for these two players. Yes, Ramirez is now pushing in, so Solar's desperately running away with the sniper. He does not want to give it up.
It's exactly what I said. I wouldn't be surprised if he now rotates to red if his teammates spawn red. They do not want to give that sniper away. They know the damage that Chalky can do with
Ramirez is desperately trying to sniff. Let's show you Ramirez really quick. He's actually trying to sniff out where Solar might be. He gets hit markers, so he might bring this back. Of course, he doesn't have to push in, but it actually might be Chalky who comes in and cleans up the kill. Yes, Chalky indeed swoops in. He wants a sniper for himself, but it's actually on the other side, Zankyo and Cypher, who are trying to make something happen. So now 7-8. Look at that Millenium comeback. As you're right, they push over to red, and they're able to get right back in this match. It's a 1-kill game.
Yeah, and the sniper's going to make a massive difference. And at the moment, I can't see where it is. I don't know if it went off the map. But one of these teams really needs to go off as Ramirez finally gets a rocket kill. He was very patient with those rockets, brother.
That's right, and that's exactly what he needs to do at these early stages of the game. Don't waste those. Don't give them up easily. It looks like a nice SMG push here. Oh, man, for a second, I wasn't sure if Cypher was going to get that, but his team also comes in to help. So it remains a 1-kill game, 9-10.
And I think Millenium, are they the last? They are. They're the last French team left in this tournament. Yep. They are the last hope for France. We saw all 4 French teams qualify out of their groups. So there's a lot on these guys' shoulders at the moment.
So Solar just had Rockets and Sniper. He drops the Rockets for Zankyo, you see right here, and Solar has the sniper rifle in hand as well. So he's going to try to make something happen. Lots of power weapon control here. Solar needs to steady that hand. Let's go ahead and get ready for a French listen-in here with Millenium as this game is all tied up.
C'est où,
Rocket son wings.
Encore un S2, encore un S2. Campé. Lumière rouge, les lumières rouges, c'est lumière rouge. Ils sont deux, 3. Ils sont 3 cabres rouges. Snipe soon. Un mec BR rouge. S2. Top 4 1, il tombe. Encore. Remproc chez eux, remproc.
Sniper soon. Remproc le dernier, Zank. Il est en cave.
Mais je nade, ça recule.
Cave. Non, il est cave.
T'es sûr?
C'est
flag bleu, il y a un flag bleu. Un seul. Il est one, mort. 2 snipe bleus. Rouge, one. 2 snipe bleus. Encore un cave bleu aussi. Blackjack, fais gaffe, t'as nade. One, weak en snipe bleu. Fais gaffe à ta droite, je regarde plus, Solar. Je vais mettre quoi en rock? On n'a pas le snipe.
En sticky, en exté rouge.
Plat bleu. 4. Plat bleu, one. 4 rouges weak. Derbo. As-4. Corner rouge. Mola rouge, one. Corner rouge, soltis, le tempo.
Dans mon bac, lumière rouge, ça arrive.
Lumière rouge, weak. Lumière rouge, weak. Lumière rouge.
Deux flags rouges.
Ils ont un shotgun, ils ont un shotgun, moi, la rouge.
Bon trade.
Ils ont un snipe.
Corner rouge, c'est le snipe, c'est Ramirez.
Lumière rouge, one.
Je vais essayer de m'approcher du rock.
Sniper corner rouge. Le rock dans 5, sniper corner rouge, faites gaffe. J'en ai touché un flag rouge.
Lumière rouge.
Avec XT.
Un mec en
Il est où le snipe?
là?
Top rock.
Plat rouge.
Top rock.
So Millenium there letting the lead slip away, 18-21. You heard that during there as they're trying to stress those callouts, but they lost control of red ultimately. So that's going to give Ramirez and crew control of the sniper, and where we always see it, right? Red corner seems to be that comfortable place.
It does, and there was a lot of passion. I could hear it. Yes, I don't understand French. Maybe we'll have to ask Ghost later because he's clearly an expert.
Yeah, apparently he's entirely fluent in French and knew exactly what they were saying, but picks up that headshot on Solar. But you're right, there's a lot of passion and intensity that I wasn't sure if we were going to see from them, so it's good to hear that. Still a very close game, and Millenium can tie up the series here.
And interestingly, the sniper in the hands of Ramirez, we kind of saw the sniper in the hands of Solar as well. I don't think either of these players are the strongest snipers on the team, but if you've got it in your hands, you're still going to use it.
Right.
But questionably, I've seen it quite a lot in this tournament. Some players have been giving up the sniper. He goes for the no-scope, but unfortunately, Rami does get taken down by Zankyo.
That's right, Zankyo will switch over to him as he's going to grab that sniper. I believe 3 bullets were left there, so he's going to bring that back to his team, say, hey, look what I found. They're only down by 1. That's an important body shot. We'll have to see if anyone on his squad can push. Looks like Solar was in position, but did not. So he's desperately still trying to figure that out. So that's a little bit of a lack of communication. Solar was on catwalk just now. So for that kill to not be cleaned up is a little bit of a miss for the Millenium squad. He's also in a very dangerous place here. He's going to want to rotate it back to red. So I like the move he's making, gets it back. He's kind of looking at this fountain angle, but they're down by 2 still in this match.
I think it's a shame he's only got 2 bullets in this sniper because Zankyo, honestly, we saw him go off in one of these EU qualifiers, pulling off one of the sickest clips we saw from the EU qualifiers with some quick scopes. I really hope he can pick up this next sniper and do some work and put on a show for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, here we are, 26-28. So luckily it's just still a tug-of-war match here if you're a Millenium fan. They're staying within reach, but it feels like good cleanup there from Zankyo on that. Looks like that was maybe a rocket player as I scan across all the screens. But I tell you what, they need to just stay in this match. Solar also has a full snipe, and they have Rock. So full power weapon control from Millenium. That's a good trade. Solar with sniper in hand as well. He's hitting these shots. Now all tied up 30-30 in game number 2.
Yeah, I want to see him get into a position now where we can really put this sniper to some good use. We saw the rockets go down. He needs to keep an eye on those and make sure the Team Infused boys don't grab them. Because if a player like Foxy, who we've seen pick up the power weapons, if he can grab something like the rockets, well, we see Zankyo has picked up the rockets, which is a massive play for Millenium.
Looks like finally, though, Solar will fall off of a pretty good flank, and that came from Foxy, I believe, who's going to have rockets in hand as well. So here we are, 33-33, just like you predicted. Foxy with 2 rockets in hand, he could do some serious damage.
Yeah, he's just one of these players that if he's got rockets in his hand, he is gonna get kills. He's a very intelligent player. He'll be very patient with the rocket kills. As we see, there's the first one he racks up. He should back off now, which he does.
That's right. No need to challenge there. He's going to let his team clean that up. Looks like 36-34 is the score. So we're reaching the home stretch here, and Infused looks to be in control, despite the fact that we actually saw some sniper and rocket control for a brief second from the other side. It's also worth noting, great headshot there for that reversal medal. He's going to get this double kill as well. So like we said, 39-35, but got to go over to Ramirez, who's sniping for the first time from BR. Spots the player going low, so he's going to call that out. They're up by 4 here, though, so they are sitting pretty. He has some good angles here. He might try to clean up bottom middle, but instead retreats over back to green. He's going to stay alive around catwalk.
One of the good things about Ramirez having a sniper is, yes, he does go negative quite often because he likes to do a lot. He likes to get aggressive. By giving him the sniper, he's instantly sitting back and not giving away kills, which is kind of perfect for Infused right now.
Yeah, now just peeking into the flag, peeking into rocket corner, forcing his opponent. That's going to be a body shot. We'll see if his team wants to clean that up, but if they don't, not a worry because they really do have solid control here, and it's going to be difficult for anyone to push out. They're kind of forced up Rocket Street, which is a really poor position. You don't want to be forced up Rocket Street because then you're going to have to make sure that you're also pushing caves and flag at the same time. Looks like they're going to grab. Ramirez picks up another sniper headshot. 44-37, they're starting to close this out.
And Infused have really dominated this snipe side of the map for pretty much the whole game. Millennium haven't really had an answer for it. Like you said, they've been trying to push up the rocket side. And, when the rockets are coming up, but you're just getting fed to the sniper when you're doing that.
Yep, now over to 2 Foxy. This is actually the first time, Gaskin, that I've seen this tournament successful snipe hold around Catwalk. We've almost seen it exclusively held on the flag, rocket corner, and sometimes cave. Great shots there from 2 Foxy. 48-38 is the score. Taking a look at this, teammate Chalky also has the rockets. We'll see when he decides to fire those. Going to be 49. One more does not get that, but Blackjack and Ramirez go in to get this. Blackjack finishing it with a double kill, so perfect collapse strategy. Final score is 50-40. Millennium was sticking with them at such a close pace, but you could kind of tell around the 30-40 kill mark, they started to pull away, and Infused started playing really disciplined Halo. Millennium lost that lead right around the 25-ish kill mark, so you see the disappointment on Solar's face as they're unable to win that game. We're going to look at the stats in just a moment, but Millennium will fall in game number 2 as well, despite putting up, once again, a pretty good fight. Look at the numbers there. Big standout performance, of course, is going to be right there from 17 and 12 from 2 Foxy, not too bad.
Yeah, and a great performance from Infused. Like you said, it's just the experience that these guys have got. I spoke to them earlier, and they said they think they have kind of too many leaders on their team. You've got Ramirez, who is the captain. He likes to make the calls, but you've also got Foxy and Chalky, who have so much tournament experience. They want to make the calls as well, so there is a little clash, but today it looks like they're just gelling perfectly. They're making the right calls, and that was a great performance against what we think is probably Millennium's best map.
That's right. I have to say it again. It feels like it's the theme of the French teams today. It's just not enough in each match. They've led in matches. We saw earlier in the last match Supremacy leading in games. We just saw Millennium leading for about half of that Slayer on Coliseum match, and it falls apart. For me, you have to wonder at the 25 kill mark or so if they tried to do too much. They had one sniper. They grabbed another sniper, and as rockets came up, that was probably right around the 6-minute mark. So when they tried to get 3 power weapons essentially across 2 players, really difficult to pull that off because you're spread pretty thin. The player with rockets forced to drop down immediately. The player with sniper presumably doesn't have an angle on those rockets, and you're kind of overextending for just a bit. Even though it looked like they might have gotten away with it, you have to wonder if they had maybe just kept the blue spawn trap going, if they would have been able to go up in the lead. Instead, they within I think 1 minute, we saw the guys on Infused had all the power weapons.
So game 3, Strongholds, with Infused showing that much control on a map like Coliseum, which can be a little bit hectic. I mean, can Millennium even answer what Infused are doing right now? They're just shutting them down wherever they push.
Yeah, I think Millennium is going to have to really slow everything down in the series, and they can't attack this game type full on and just try to win it as fast as they can. It's going to come down to the overshell control. It's going to come down to rocket control and methodical play. I think they're going to want to get as many total controls as they can, but only if they make sure they don't overextend. We saw them do it, I think, in Coliseum TS. So if it means just only holding 2 and rotating the bend, right, grab nest, steal catwalk, if you can kind of just hold really the 2 of the points and only go for total control when appropriate, we might see them win, but it's going to come down to power weapon and power up control. Our players to watch this series are going to be Blackjack and Solar. We saw some solid play out of Blackjack in that last game. You saw Solar's disappointment with his team after that loss. You have to think that he's trying to turn that now into positive energy for these next 3 games. Keep in mind, this is their last chance for the next 3 games. Millennium are up against the wall. This is do or die if they want to go to the World Champs.
And going into Eden Strongholds, I like what you said about total control. I was sat with the Infused boys when we watched that last game between Supremacy. We saw Supremacy have 2 of the Strongholds, right? And they were very reluctant to push for that third, to go for the total control. The Infused boys were saying, go for it. Just keep the game fast, keep it active, make them think about it. So I want to see the Infused boys go for that total control a lot in this game.
Yeah, and that might be exactly what we see. If Infused kind of goes on a roll, I'm significantly worried for the guys on Millennium, just because it's so easy to get spawn trapped here. But we have to say, even when total control exists, Epsilon proved in game 3 last series, even in a 95-86 total control in favor of the losing squad, Supremacy, Epsilon pushes out, grabs 2 strongholds, and wins the game. So there are ways to bust out. That said, you got to make sure that your setup isn't full of holes when you do have that total control. It's much easier said than done to execute on that. But that is going to be our game number 3, Strongholds on Eden. Will the gentlemen of Infused secure a spot in the Halo World Championships, or will Millennium force a game number 4. That'll be what happens here on Strongholds Eden.
And the difference on these players' faces at the moment, we had a close-up of Solar. He's very focused. He's probably a bit upset with his performance. And now we see the Infused boys slapping hands, giving fist bumps once again. We want to see this from Millenium. They need to get pumped if they want any chance in this game. Who do you want to jump on board with first?
You know, I think we saw really good stuff out of 2Foxy for this entire series, and I think we really should start things off with him again. Him and the Infused squad, they look too strong in this match. Wouldn't be surprised if they closed it out in 3 games. Here we are now, game number 3. Going to be Strongholds on Eden. Going to be an immediate overshield grab, and we'll see exactly how they push Rockets. I like this, trying to make sure he doesn't get hit by the plasma pistol, so we're going to need to make sure. But look at that, Zankyo able to neutralize the overshield. So Zankyo did his job there. Now, 2Foxy's teammate Ramirez will have camo around Cat and try to go for a sneaky steal here. So it looks like it could be some early control and points on the board for Infused. And I'm not sure if Ramirez needed to shoot right there. I think he could have even gotten away with a sneaky grab and just dropped down, but he's actually going to let that maybe get amazing if he doesn't get this reset. It looks like it actually will be. Can he do some stealth ninja moves here, trying to go Jason Bourne status, but he will fall. So now over to Cypher of Millenium, and actually the first points of the board surprisingly go to Millenium, and you have to wonder if Ramirez had just kind of sat on Cat, if he would have gotten away with that, because the player was just trying to eagle eye him with the camo, but it looks like Millenium actually going to put some early points on the board. They even go for that red nest as well. So over to Blackjack here on the Infused side. Now keep in mind, I mean, it's all about whoever can play the full game here. These early points on the board don't always matter.
Now, I think a lot of players don't use the camo correctly on Stronghold games. You should be a little bit more sneaky. You should just kind of sit there and hope you don't get seen, and then you put the shots in.
Right.
Just get hold of that Stronghold. You want to get the points on the board. The kills aren't as important in this early game.
That's it. You just want to get control. I mean, you can let it. We actually saw it at the X Games quite a few times. Now over to Talik here. We'll stay on board with him through the respawn. We saw it at X Games a few times. You can go down by 20, 25 points. Even in the early game, you can get shut out quite early. If you just slow everything down and get control, you can easily make those points back. You need to play for the full game here, and that's what we're seeing now. Millenium is actually going to put a total control on the board for a second. So now over to Zankyo. We'll have to see which point will go first. No one on Infused is actually capping. Finally, they're starting Blue Bend. So we're going to see a good little run here from Millenium. Looks like Blue Bend will go the way of an Infused here. So it looks like Millenium with an early start. But as I was saying, I mean, I'm sure you've seen it as well. You need to play for map control. It doesn't matter how much you go down by. Play for the long game. Of course, don't let triple control go up. Let's see if Zankyo is going to be able to switch in the most ridiculous battle here with Chalky as they're trying to fight each other. Neither player has grenades, and let's see who's going to win this, and it's going to be Zankyo, who reloads the SMG twice, and finally he'll get that kill. Got to point out, though, Blackjack does have the rockets for Infused.
It is good to see that Millenium are going for this total control, because it forces Infused to make quick decisions.
Yep.
Infused, obviously, one of these teams that are happy to set up, they're happy to play slow because of their experience. If you can take them out of their comfort zone, then you never know, you could beat them.
Then they did it again. There's that total control. Blackjack and crew are over at the nest, though, so that's going to be the next target for the gentleman of Infused. But you're right, as if you can play this game type really fast, Gaskin, you can keep the enemy guessing. Look at that eagle eye, perhaps going to take this player out on camo, so desperately wants to take him down. He's still lit up, his shields are up, so we'll see if he's going to be able to light him up with the SMG. 2Foxy gets doubled here, and they do a really nice job, Millenium, of not letting that camo get away. Unfortunately, 2Foxy was trying to hide behind a chain link fence while his shields were flashing, and he may not have realized that. Eventually, Zankyo will fall, so we'll go over to Chalky, who's trying to do some work with the SMG and hold Blue Bend, and finally, Infused will start putting some more points on the board, but it is an 11-57 game in favor of Millenium. Now, I think Millenium just needs to slow down and reset here, right? They need to say, okay, we need to do the exact same thing we just did. We're already halfway home. Let's do that same strategy one more time.
I think Millenium need to pick a point. They need to say, right, okay, at 8 minutes, or when we get this overshield, when this overshield's come up, then we push, then we make our move. Let's not just give away unnecessary deaths. Let's try and get this map control back.
That's exactly it. Some light rifle work here from Cypher, who's trying to lay down shots on the catwalk. And that might be what we're seeing here. Those rockets are going to fall in 9 seconds. Pokes the barrel, make sure that no one is hiding behind there. It looks like Red Nest might fall for a second, so looks like Talik is able to help Cypher, So Millenium now seeing their lead cut in half, as the score is now 57-26. But you're right, they just need to wait here. They need to make sure that they can get this, and it looks like they're going to go ahead and try to get catwalk now as well, trying to see if anyone is going to be in position for that overshield, and it might have been a burn there as I take a look. Rockets were in the hands of Talik as well, so still points on the board for Millenium as they go ahead and grab Cat and Red Nest, but looks like, oh my gosh, great play from Cypher to land the two. I believe that was a two-shot melee. I looked away for just a second. They're still scoring. Score is 61-31. Look at this light rifle work, pinning down Ramirez. My goodness, and a nice job there. Gets the defense and the protector medal. Zankyo still has rockets on Red Nest, so they are looking good here in this game.
Great patience there shown from Millenium. We did say we didn't want to see them overextend. They definitely chose their moment, and then they all pushed together to get Blue Bend there. I mean, I wasn't expecting them to go for Blue Bend. I thought they were going to jump up and get that shotgun, but they didn't. They kind of just pushed around, and they worked as a unit, and they went 2 by 2.
You have to wonder. I think Infused has to be going for Cat right now because we're not actually seeing much pressure on Blue Bend as well. But actually, Blackjack is actually going to be a player who's sneaking through, and I want to see really quickly if he's able to do that. Take a look. He has this camo, and he might get this. That's a really heads-up play by Blackjack to use that camo to sneak in and now get kills over here on outside as well. So they're scoring once again. We could see some late-game greatness from Infused here. We've seen a few top teams do this, right? They come back in Strongholds, whatever map they're playing, and he's going to try to get Catwalk as well. But Millenium is doing a really good job of being diligent, and they're actually resetting Blue Bend as we speak as well. So back over to Cypher, and really good responsiveness from Millenium.
And Millenium must have some vision goggles on them or something, because they seem to notice every single camo these Infused boys picks up. They just can't seem to get away. We saw in the last game, 2Foxy got away with a camo, and he was detrimental with it. But at the moment, Infused just can't keep up with this aggressiveness from the Millenium side.
Yeah, really good shots from Cypher there as well. Look at these pistol shots. Might take on 2 players. We'll see if anyone falls. He does not get the trade here. Chalky and crew are trying to get Blue Bend. They've already got it, excuse me. They're able to do that, and now they're also pushing up for Cat and Red Nest. Here comes 2Foxy trying to go for a Red Nest as well. I don't know if they're going to get Cat. Looks like Cat will be denied, but 2Foxy is going to be able to get the full overshield, which is a really big grab for him. Now score 42-86. They're putting points on the board, but look how close Millenium is to closing this out. Infused needs to essentially play pretty perfect Halo here to win this.
Well, they've got the overshield and the rockets. I mean, that's the perfect setup you want for this map. They've just got to be careful that Millenium don't push around to something like Cat and catch them off guard.
Yeah, Cypher's use of the SMG once again to melt the overshield. Pretty successful. His shields are flashing, so he's going to need to take a moment and reset, but somehow he's able to stay alive and might actually get the better of the player over here, which is going to be Blackjack, but Blackjack able to get away for just a moment, but actually will be answered back by Millenium. So several players pushing around outside. Going to go over to Chalky now. They're still putting points on the board. I believe that's 3 dead on the other side for Millenium for a split second, but it looks like they're trying to go ahead and grab Nest and move for Catwalk too.
See, I don't like the move of Millenium there, pushing for Red Nest so early. You're so vulnerable to grenades if you're going to push into Red Nest. Maybe grab something like Cat or something like that. Have we got any stats for... We saw stats for Chalky earlier. He was going 2.5 KD. This guy is an absolute animal. I'm really glad to see him performing in Halo 5 like he did in H2A.
Yeah, but he's going to need to turn this around because I got to switch to the overside because the Millenium boys are at 95 with control here, and they might be able to close this out. They're holding Catwalk. Looks like Red Nest is being stolen, but great nades here coming in from Talik, who's able to pick that up. 3 players fall. Look at Cypher and Talik working together, even going for that. Now that's going to be it. Millenium is able to close it out with a very strong finish, 100-56 in game number 3. Strongholds on Eden. They trailed the series with a score of 1-2, but a very, very great match from them. We saw a great early game, their mid game, and they finished strong. We haven't seen a lot of underdogs do that on a game type like Strongholds. Taking a look now at Infused, they're going to try to go ahead and kind of wash their hands of that match and get ready for game number 4. But we got to look at the stats because we saw some good stuff out of Millenium. I mean, what impressed me the most was their ability to rotate. Cypher, the player there, going 14-10. Talik also going 15-13. So they weren't necessarily outslaying their opponents. Looked pretty even, actually, in terms of the slaying department. But, I mean, I loved how Millenium rotated. It looked like, if we saw Infused getting camo, they reset Blue Bend, and they go up to Cat. The second that happens, Cypher and crew squeeze back into Blue Bend. So you have to wonder, was that a matter of Infused not watching those routes, or instead was it just the fact that Millenium knew how to cycle on that game type, and we have ourselves a series now. And it's interesting, Millenium looks just as deflated after a loss as they do after a win. So they've got to be doing something right, and they need to see if they can do do that in this next game as well.
I think Millenium got into that cycle first, which was the key to victory there. I think if Infused had started out strong and then got in that cycle themselves, Millenium would have found themselves in exactly the same position.
Right.
This is a massive momentum shifter for Millenium. They really are back in this series.
Yeah, and it's actually the most, the most dominating victory we have on the scoreboard so far. Take a look at this, 3-1 for Infused. I think Millenium played that pretty well. Infused win 50-40 in a comeback win where we saw Millenium leading for most of the match. And now we see Millenium actually winning 100-56, which is it's a substantial margin, right? A lot of Infused late points in that game came around when they were about 30 points to 56. So there was a long time where Millenium was able to hold really good control. And I have to say, I'm so impressed with them in that game type. They played the beginning, middle, and end of that game so strong and exactly how French fans would want them to do so.
Definitely. And a CTF truth, though, even though Millenium have just won that game...
I'm worried too, Dan. I can hear it in your voice.
The experience of these Infused players, they've played Halo 2, they've played Halo 3, they know how to play this map. They're going to be confident going. They're saying, okay, yeah, we can drop a game. We know truth's coming up.
Yep, yeah, I'm a little bit worried for the Millenium gentlemen as well. I would not personally want to play against Infused in this game type. I know they're aware of how skilled and talented they might be. I tell you what, though, if I look, looking at both teams, Infused has the speed to play, right? But looking at the objective work that we just saw from Millenium, if they can kind of transfer that into flag runs and delaying and look at that as almost a map rotation like that, if they can apply that to truth, I can definitely see Millenium coming out pretty hard here. We could see this coming down to the last cap, but Millenium needs to do whatever they were doing in that last game to perfectly rotate around their enemy. If their flag is pulled, don't panic, still, push across. And we'll have to see which team is able to come out. But one thing is for sure, we certainly have ourselves a series with this one.
I think Ramirez was trying to do a bit too much in that game. He went negate, obviously known as the objective player for this team. But in a map like CTF Truth, he's there. He's your player to watch. We've got Ramirez, and then we've got Zankyo, who's he's the captain. He's the slayer. He'll do the objective. He just does, both of these guys do the dirty work. And that's what I love about both of them. I'd like to see Ramirez get in their face, pull some flags, and have the brilliance around him just support him with some kills.
I also love the late game resilience and coordination that we saw from Millenium as well. You saw Talik go from high cat to low cat, perfect grenades off a red nest, works with, I believe it was Zankyo to finish, it was actually Cypher to finish those final kills. So once again, you see the Infused boys getting hyped up. Millenium cool, calm, and collected as they try to look forward to this game number 4. It's going to be CTF on Truth will be our next map. Of course, a 2-base, 2-flag game type. You're going to see that flag brought back to the enemy. You're going to need to make sure your flag is at home in order to score 3 caps to win and 12 minutes on the clock. So starting things off here with Talik, who grabs the BR.
I want to see one of these teams really control the carbine side. He just died so quickly there.
It looked like it was playing a game of SWAT there. Must have been perfectly timed shots and or grenades from his opponent. But 2Foxy out the gate is pulling a flag here. Looks like taking a look at how many are alive for both teams. It looks like now 4 players up for each side, but 1 player will fall as Zankyo does die. So 2Foxy going to continue this run. I'm trying to see where the camo went. It looks like it might have been a burn. So 2Foxy is running this flag quick, somehow not finding any resistance and brings this in. My gosh, Infused with a cap within 35 seconds.
And that is what they should have done last game. They needed to come out of the blocks early, get aggressive, and put some points on the board. This is exactly what we needed.
He's going to go in for a cap again. Here's what I don't understand. First strike went to Talik off the pink break. And then we see 2Foxy just come in and run a flag like a madman, and he might try to do it again here. Within a minute, he's done so much damage. Look at these shots he's putting on Solar. We're going to see that maybe cleaned up by Blackjack. Chalky is, I love this run. These are my favorite types of flag runs if he was able to stay alive. We'll see if Chalky can continue the run. But when you're pushing together 3 players and flag is also out and you're just running back, it is so hard to stop that rush. They're moving all together. Looks like Chalky of Infused bringing this flag in right now. Going to get that cap, yes. And within 2 minutes, Infused is up 2-0. They want to send the French team home.
The confidence of that flag run from Foxy. He knew his teammates were there.
Yep.
Even though a player spawned there, he was like, I know you're going to kill him. Even if I die, we're going to get this flag cap. These guys have got so much experience.
Yeah, this could be a very, very fast game number 4 as Chalky somehow stays alive, avoids those grenades. They're going to try to hold down the second level of Pink Tower. And by the way, if you do want to learn about these map locations that are being referenced, keep an eye on that bottom left of your screen. Right now, you see he's in Pink Tower 2. That'll help you understand understand some of the call-outs that you hear the players as well as the casters use throughout the weekend.
And I want to say they are one flag cap away from going to Worlds.
Right.
This is going to mean so much for these Infused boys. They've always been over there in America. They've kind of been the #1 team in the UK for a long time. Now Epsilon have kind of taken their place. These guys want to be there.
Right.
They're a massive team here in the UK.
And of course later today they want to prove that they are the top team here in these Europe, Middle East, and Africa finals now, as only a few teams remain and only one cap remains for Infused. Look at this. Ramirez has Chalky's help. Chalky is forced to back down, but also 2 Foxy Perry there on your screen, and they are just lighting up the enemy base. They are ready to run this flag, and here is the pull. Looks like they're actually going to double back here, and Chalky decides to go with that pink run. I like that decision. He's going to have help from Blackjack as well. Now over to Blackjack, who's trying to push out pink side, but immediately gets fired all the way back. Not going to be able to make something happen. Ramirez now up Red Street, trying to still keep the dream alive on pink, but it looks like the flag will be, no, not returned just yet. Excuse me, I almost spoke too soon. 2 Foxy still gets a touch on this. Now, if Infused can continue this run, what a run it would be, and I do believe they're going to be able to do it. 2 Foxy is rounding the corner. Chalky is there for the assist as well, and looks like that Infused somehow pull off that win. Smiles on their faces.
Look at the smiles.
Infused is going to the Halo World Championship.
That is just fantastic for these boys. You can see how much it means to Blackjack. Blackjack was on Dignitas just a month ago. Now he's going to the World Finals. Amazing performance. That is a real experience show that we just saw on Truth.
And that game type and that display of talent really seals the deal for them. Not only the first 2 caps, which happened within really the first few minutes of the match. I believe it was under 1 minute and 30 seconds. But, I mean, also that last run to keep that alive, pink, right? I mean, 2 Foxy to turn the, actually, excuse me, believe it was Chalky who runs that flag pink when the player's respawning car. He dies, Blackjack pushes in, he dies. But for 2 Foxy to still somehow get the touch pink 1 and move across is pretty incredible. Very low numbers on the board because we only saw a 3-minute and 22-second match. That's right. I mean, Chalky going 7-2 there, of course, standing out there. But of course, Blackjack, 9 assists from him. But I mean, to keep that alive on the pink side was, I mean, pretty incredible. I really didn't think they were going to be able to do it, but credit to Ramirez, who didn't go for the touch, instead goes up Red Street, and he's able to bring that, he's able to rain down death on players pink 1. 2 Foxy continues it. They even had Chalky waiting for the, you know, also with the assist, drawing in fire from car side once again. So I think that last game was just a display of how talented Infused is. For like a minute, they slowed things down. They locked down the base. They had both sneakies under control. They have the flag corner under control, and they start the flag run. And for me, they turned, you know, nothing into something with that. They were dying in the enemy base, but they still get that flag back. So great resilience from them. But we got to give a shout out to Millenium taking a game off of Infused, and once again, one of the most talented French teams here.
With that last flag cap, what I saw was 2 Foxy. He ran bottom mid, went under their base. He got behind those players that then were pushing out pink.
Right.
He made the plays. He probably shouted to Ramirez, don't jump for it yet.
Right.
Let me kill them. Then he carried on through and got that flag run. Just perfect from these guys. Their experience, their communication, their teamwork is really on point today. And I think that is a dominant performance that might threaten Epsilon.
Yeah, I mean, what I love is the diligence and the patience of both of those players. Ramirez pushing up the street, and 2 Foxy pushing in low base. Neither play going for the flag because they know they had the time. To take the time to set up a play like that, I mean, it really requires on-the-spot communication. That's what we saw from them just now.
Yeah, it was just a great series, actually. Yes, okay, they lost 1, but I mean, that Strongholds game, maybe it's not their strongest game type. Even though they were telling me before, oh, this is how they should be playing Eden Strongholds.
Right.
They didn't really turn up for that series. Millennium came out of the blocks a little bit earlier. It's unfortunate for Millennium because I think they are a really strong side. They pulled the 2-0 upset over Dignitas, and that's all 4 French teams now eliminated from the competition. They all just came so close.
And they all made it to the quarters, right? I mean, we saw French teams throughout every single one of those matches. But I mean, they have to be proud on getting this far. They've got to be proud of their performance on Eden Strongholds as well. So, of course, want to give a shout out to all of our French Halo fans, as well as the players, managers, coaches here who had such a great show. But sounds like we have an interview ready down on the floor.
Exactly right, gentlemen. I am here with Ramirez, of course, captain of Infused. After a 3-1 victory, a fairly solid one for you. A little bit shaky on Eden, and we'll start with that one as well, because it's more an interesting thing to talk about, I think. Straight away, you picked up the camo, you went to Cat, you tried to take that point early on, you got eagle-eyed out there and got taken out. And then you guys sort of struggled to sort of have control. Yeah. A team who advocates going for that total control, or the full control of all 3 points on that map, Seemed you had some problems there as well. I mean, can you pinpoint where your issues were?
Yeah, we can definitely pinpoint that. I mean, we've played Eden Strongholds quite a few times this event already, and we're quite P-oriented, the P-tower. I mean, that game, we had little to no P control, and the French, they were twosing up in there every time. You couldn't, if you went into P, you would meet two battles every time, and it wouldn't be easy to take over. So they sort of frustrated us a little bit, and it's easy to get stuck in a loop once you start giving deaths away on Strongholds, but you know, we reset after that game, we went again, but full credit, because the French, they showed up, you know, on them game types, they really did. They're good at Strongholds.
No doubt about it. Obviously, Coliseum was a good win for you guys, Team Slayer. It was a slower start for you, actually. We saw Millenium actually grab the sniper rifle early, they pulled it back, and they had the lead for a little bit of the game. Now, it's been said also that you know, you got a lot of voices in your team. We listen into you guys. We could hear, of course, Chalky and Chalky and Foxy talking up a fair bit as well and getting involved. So, but it definitely seems like you got more disciplined and you took yourself over the line. But tell us a bit about how you made that transition from being behind and then clutch it out at the end.
Well, we feel like, especially against some of these games that are so tight, they could really do come down to the power weapons. You know, you can talk about the map all you want, control and despawns, but if you don't get the power weapons, you're probably not going to win. And the amount of times we let, especially in previous events, game types we played before, we let the other teams have too much freedom to do what they want with that snipe and that rocket. This time we're like, guys, let's get on that rockets, let's get on that snipe, let's make sure we make a good meal out of them. And I think that's one thing we did a lot better, because I had the snipe for the majority of the game, or Blackjack had it, and it was the same with the rockets. We really did a good job of that.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up as well, because both teams actually were using snipers, but they weren't being passed over towards their sniper players, I guess you could say. Solar was doing the same thing. He held the sniper rifle for a while, and even you did as well, managed to do some work there. Is that just because you just want to get control of those no matter what? You value them so highly, you're not going to mess around, pass them around the team?
Yeah, that's exactly it. You can't waste time, shuffling it about. I mean, ideally, I'd choose myself as the last person to get the snipe on my team, because I'm lucky enough to team with 3 people who are all incredible with it. But at this was, I've got to be able to step up just as much as them and put that power weapon to use. It's vice versa with any weapon. I'd expect all my teammates to be able to do it with it. I'm lucky, like I said, just I've got teammates that are that talented with them.
And of course, the last map was a lot stronger for you. It seems like Strongholds lit a fire under your asses, and what you did in that last map may be illegal in a few countries, but we'll overlook it here in Germany, mate. But congratulations, man. You're through, of course, to the World Championships. You're through to the semi-finals. Pleasure to have you on the desk. And there's a game for you, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, gentlemen, over at the expert desk, let's break this one down and tell us your thoughts on the match.
Thank you very much there, Mitch. Well, it looks like we have finally sent all 4 teams to the World Championship that we're going to. But before we move on to the rest of this elimination bracket, let's talk about the game we just watched.
Yeah, that was absolutely insane. We saw right off the bat 2 Foxy just come in and get the sword cap. I mean, what was it, in the first minute, Sims?
Yeah, it literally just sprinted on through. No one even bothered to challenge him, did they? But I think this kind of is a bit of a story. I mean, rather than going through individual games, the whole thing, I just kind of want to go 2 Foxy, ladies and gentlemen. That's pretty much it.
We said in the kind of the pre-game, we said he's feeling better today.
Yep.
He's feeling a lot better today, and I'm sure his teammates are glad that he's back. But let's go map by map then. Let's start at map number 1. Sims, what did you make of that one?
I think without question, I keep saying 2 Foxy, but the 5-minute point running riot. It was railgun.
Right.
That's all it was. And that's where your name, is that where your name comes from, Bryce Tackler? Is that a little bit of a Halo feel?
It is actually. Well, that's where I was originally from Halo. Way back in the day.
Back in the day. But yeah, game 1, it was all about the story of 2 Foxy. I think, was it 32 kills in the end?
32, 9,
kills. You got the full stats
12.
There? That's ridiculous. And every single time, camo, railgun, camo, railgun. It was just a constant thing, and everyone seemed to put it on Twitter. Does nobody want to kill him? He was just left.
The funny thing, when he died, I still don't think he should have died in that scenario. Like,
I very lucky with flag, and then all of a sudden the flag guy comes in, smacks him in the face, and takes him down, which is fair play. But
the next guy in line had 21 kills, and then after that, it was all in the teens and under.
But I mean, you look at that one, and the game, I don't want to say it was, I mean, it was a 3-1 fair play, but it wasn't exactly a whitewash. So
no, not at all.
Millennium would have shut him down, that possibly could have been a game 1 for them spiraling. They just left him to run free. He just did what he wanted to do. He was left completely unchecked.
Railgun, camo after camo. I mean, yeah, like you said, we did see Millennium do a great job scrapping objective.
Yep.
When 2 Foxy wasn't on the map for those 12 deaths, it looks like they had a little bit of life in them. But yeah, outside of that, it was hard to watch. I mean, Solar did have a pretty amazing ground pound on the camo to start a little bit of a standoff. But I mean, return after return, it just kept going back and forth until until the Infused take it. You know?
I mean, letting Railgun and top mid control go, Strong's I said it in the booth.
It was weird, man.
It's straight up, you control them two, you win the game. But even with the camo in play, nobody bothered. I mean,
That's what I didn't understand.
It's a dark map, you know? You get that camo and you can rush, you can push, you can pretty much do what you want because nobody can see a goddamn thing. You're just completely invisible, you're off the radar. And yeah, I mean, the whole story of that one game kind of spiraled off as the rest of them. He was left unchecked and he did what the hell he wanted.
And there was no one controlling top mid, really. I mean, we saw 2Foxy, right, with the railgun, but I kept thinking, this is a very weird game. Normally, it's very structured, but this thing lasted almost the entirety of the match, right? And it's really because of the lack of control. There wasn't anyone up top always, you know, just supporting their team on either squad. We did see 2Foxy go up there for the railgun a few times, but he wasn't even hanging around, and that's why, even though he was pulling slaying power, it wasn't transitioning into anything really until, you know, towards the end.
All right, well, fairly confident on that first map. Let's move on to map number 2 then, Coliseum. Ghosty, I'm actually going to start with you. How did you kind of see that map going down?
I mean, it was pretty crazy. We saw Solar grab the first snipes. And we were kind of expecting him to go off, but he turtled in that blue cave, and we just kind of see them draw back. All of Millenium, right? They were drawing back. And so when you look at how Epsilon plays as a team on Coliseum, when they put the sniper in Snipe Drone's hands, whether it's Coliseum Slayer, Eden Slayer, the Bucks and Jimbo, they push out, right? They give him that blanket so that he can pick off the unsuspecting guys that are actually trying to put shots in his teammates. Well, unfortunately for Millenium this time, you just had Solar sitting back in the cave, and he was the first point of contact. And when your sniper's the first point of contact in Halo 5, it's going to be a hard time trying to get those snipes.
Interestingly, I've just got this feeling that the French seem to like Coliseum. You know, Vitality took one off Infused. They took them into a close game.
Oh, it was very close, 50-40.
We saw before Supremacy taking it towards Epsilon on Coliseum. So it really does. I don't know why, if we can look into that.
Oh, yeah.
Enjoy that map or not. I don't know if we can look into it further. But that one, at 9:30 mark, it was 11-11. When it got to the 5:45, it was 30-30. It was a very close game. Quite until the end. And then when they locked it up, literally, and it just completely escalated rather quickly.
And it was crazy. The other point I wanted to make is when Solar had the sniper in the blue courtyard, right? We saw Ramirez. He had that idea, you know, this guy, I don't think he left. And I mean, obviously, sitting next to Neighbor for the last 2 years, the guy is always rotating with sniper. Coliseum Slayer is his lockout Slayer. You know, he takes the sniper, he goes from rocket corner to rocket corner, from snipe corner to sneaky. I mean, he's always moving around. And when I saw Solar, he thought about it. He said, you know what, I'm going to think about leaving. My whole team's down. And instead, he crouched right there at the bottom of the rocket corner. And Ramirez said, you know what, I'm going to throw a nade there. He gets the hit tick, sniffs him out, puts sniper in their hands, and that was that.
Of course, once again, kind of the Foxy show. He got 17-12 at the end of it, but that gap really opened up when he managed to get the, you know, he got the last rockets. 4 kills straight on the bag, hit the double kill at the end, pretty much for the win. Job done. And the one thing I want to mention about that game, at the end of it, when we went to the player cams, it was the look on Solar's face. It was of defeat, and it was of anger. You could see he was severely, really unhappy about it. And fair enough, that stresses how much this means to people, but more than anything, taking that mentality to go into elimination game 3, we just want to shake it off.
But they did shake it off. That's the funny thing. Let's actually move on to map number 3 then, because this is where Millenium did manage to get a game back, and it was a very good performance on Eden Strongholds. They definitely looked more commanding. They seem to have at least Infused number on that map. They were winning duels against them, and it was great teamwork. We saw some amazing trades. At one point, I think I saw 3 players from both squads just continuously trade those kills off.
And they were all jumping in hills constantly. I mean, really what I thought was the difference maker here was that we saw the dynamic of Infused grabbing the camos, and we saw Millenium grabbing the overshields. Now, Millenium was actually doing stuff with the overshields. They were pushing, they were getting hills and controlling. However, they were also shutting down every camo play that Infused tried to make, right? We saw Ramirez go top hill in that tower in the beginning. 2 guys, he has an AR, he melees 1, and then melees the second guy. Instead of finishing off that first kill, that camo's down, right? Then we see Blackjack, I believe, he had that camo flickering, you know, all over by the tower. He dies. And then there's another camo picked up, I believe, by Chalky. And it just seemed like there was a lot of missed opportunities in that gameplay. Chalky with the rockets as well.
Yeah, we were going to touch on this one. I mean, I think to kind of call him out first, the shining star of that was Cypher, without question. SMG, light rifle, no matter what weapon.
That was ridiculous.
He was literally hunting around the nest. Nobody could kind of touch it. And there was so many times we saw that they had the 3 cap every single time, full control, racking out some serious numbers. And at the end, Go on, I'll let you break this one down then, what we kind of questioned over the chalky scenario with the Rockets.
So what happened was the red nest was what they needed to take over, right? And so they knew that they were pushing alongside. So Chalky just grabbed Rockets around the turbine area, and his two teammates started pushing around red turbine to try and get that angle, right? So this guy now moves closer to the mid bridge, and he sees an enemy start capping the blue bend. Now, instead of him going to kill the blue bend guy, resetting, going back to red nest, helping out his team, he stayed on the blue bend. He not only killed the guy in the blue bend with his rocket, great play, but he pushed in there for the reset and wasted just enough time to lose enough focus so that, again, Millenium capped that red nest, and then that was really the turning point. I mean, the guy had rockets, and then he just dipped on his team, and that was that.
Which was completely different because in the game yesterday when they played Vitality, he slapped them with rockets. He got running right, and he was just doing the bend to nest rotation, back, forth, rockets in hand, not dropping a single one.
It's crazy.
Got the running riot, job done, capped it, but on that one, just seemed to let that one go a little bit.
Yeah, maybe just a little kind of a lapse of focus, or just made the wrong decision. I mean, it does happen with these players occasionally. Maybe he thought he'd have a better chance kind of holding there, but it didn't work out this time, and yeah, they did lose that one. However, they did bounce back in map number 4. They looked a lot more commanding. It was probably like a, whoa, hold on, what have you done? You don't you dare take a map off of us. So yeah, they do get this one. Let's go into map number 4 then. Infused did take this one, kind of nail that golden ticket.
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I have a question mark down next to Millenium for this game because I had no idea what happened. I mean, it was so fast that you know, it felt like they were going, Infused was going like 100 miles an hour. I mean, we saw the sword cap by 2 Foxy, and then we saw Chalky, and then we saw the third cap come in, and so what was it, a 3-minute game, I believe?
Pretty much less than 3. I mean, it's quite, to be honest with you, it's very simple mathematics here. It's Foxy plus sword equals win. That's all it was. He was just going in, bang. Even when we dropped down below, he went straight into the base for somebody. He just charged toward them, sliced him up with absolutely no fear because he knew he was going to come down, no shield. Took him out, kept in.
That looked really casual. Just like, yep, I'm just coming through here. I'm not even worried about it. I've gone past this fight. I'm going on to the next one.
And the weird thing is that, again, coming from the North American side, I know that a lot of pros are a little bit hesitant to pick up that sword. We know that the sword cap is effective for sure, but I have to say that 2 Foxy is probably the most efficient sword player I've seen on Truth Capture the Flag. He not only is running it, but he's getting into their base and making plays and getting kills. It's a new look for him.
What's your personal preference on this? Is the sword a weapon to kill, or is it a utility to run flags?
I personally see it as a utility. I mean, when it comes to Truth, the lines of sight are very open. You have the carbines at both towers, right? And I know that most people don't utilize them as well as they should. I mean, the red reticle range on that thing is ridiculous, and people need to get Pink 3 a little bit more with them. But you couple that with the plasma pistol, the storm rifles, to me it feels like the sword just gets stuck in that middle ground, right? Where a guy is ready for you with the automatic in his back pocket. And unfortunately, it kind of meets your demise, but yeah, to your point, I think that it is definitely the biggest deal for the objective play.
Awesome. Well, I think that's kind of summed it all up there, unless you've got any last things to add before we move on.
2 Foxy, man.
2 Foxy?
Infused versus...
He's looking good.
I mean, he was good yesterday, but he was great today.
I'd be worried if I were Epsilon now, if I'm honest. I mean, it's going to be a really good game.
Yeah, and we were all like, you know what? This is a matchup right here. We were ready for this matchup, and then 2 Foxy just, you know, dominates.
We in theory, I mean, this whole weekend, we shouldn't have seen that match, point blank. This match shouldn't have happened. You know, after what's happened with Dig and stuff, nobody expected to see that, but kind of seeing how Foxy's adapted to this LAN environment. I mean, we all know he's a beast. He's an absolute tank. There's no... Foxy's Foxy, man, but going up against Epsilon, it's going to be one hell of a game. Really is.
Yeah, I can't believe we get to see that.
I know, it's going to be good, dude. It's going to be a lot of fun.
That should be the second semi-final. The first semi-final is just about to come up after the break. And I think this is just a little bit kind of interesting now. Let's actually have a look at the bracket and see how this is all ended up here. To quickly run you through it, you can see XL took down Team Vitality, Fab took down Pulse Gaming. This was yesterday. They're now going to face off in semi-final 1. XL versus Fab. And then obviously this morning, we have managed to have quarterfinal 3 and quarterfinal 4. Epsilon took down Supremacy in dominating fashion, and Infused took down Millenium in the game just past. So now Epsilon will take on Infused, and that's a match a lot of people want to see. These two actually played just 2 weeks ago, and that went to Epsilon. Guys, do we think we're going to see any difference here in how you think this is going to play out?
I think now that kind of Epsilon knows what Foxy's going to do, they need to shut him down. But then again, Infused know they need to shut down Jimbo. But definitely, I mean, again, respect to all team members on Infused, but Foxy's been a bit of a hard carry. They need to either step up to his level, or he just needs to keep doing what he's doing. The rest of the team need to allow that and slay Epsilon down, keep them in the respawn screen. Just let Perry do his own thing, run away with it, but yeah, it's going to be good. Either way, it'll be a good game.
Yeah, I definitely see it as a toss-up. It's very hard to determine, right? I mean, we saw both teams play against, I guess, a little bit less caliber, right? So I don't really think any of them were a measuring stick, if you will, to what they can do today. And both teams feel like they're, you know, on fire in their own regards. So it's really just going to be the battle of the two Titans.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for kind of breaking that one down, guys. Well, at home, if you're watching, we have 4 teams left. Excel, Fabi, Infused and Epsilon. Please let us know, who do you think is going to win this entire thing on hashtag HaloWC, because we're getting ready for the first semi-final right after this.
War extracts a heavy toll from those it touches.
You are hereby conscripted into UNSC Special Project codenamed Orion 2.
Its cost cannot be measured in brass or gold.
You will do exactly what I say!
But for some, that price is higher than others.
How many dead, Deja?
But humanity isn't the enemy.
Command assembled a battle group. What they found was this object. It destroyed the Vostok in Arabia in under a minute.
Humanity is what will save us all.
This is Project Mjolnir.
Soldiers are made, not born.
We're the best possible option. Your only option. Blue team is ready.
The new Tracer armor in Halo 5 Guardians features everything you need to survive combat, including a jet-powered espresso machine, a visor with no apparent visibility, and a cooler to keep your bubbly ready for celebration.